All right, everybody. Today we're going to read from Our Daily Bread, the 60-day introductory edition. Strength for your journey. Habakkuk 3:16. The sovereign Lord is my strength. He makes my feet like the feet of a deer. He enables me to tread on the heights.
See, we're working fast on all the stuff to do.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Hymns Feet on the High Places, a classic allegory of the Christian life, is based on Habakkuk 3:19. The story follows the character much afraid as he goes on a journey with the shepherd. But much afraid is scared, so she asks the shepherd to carry her. The shepherd kindly replies, I can carry you all the way up to the high places myself, instead of leaving you to climb there. But if I did, you would never be able to develop hinds feet and become my companion and go where I go. Much afraid echoes the question of the Old Testament prophet Habakkuk. And if I'm honest, my questions too. Why must I experience suffering? Why is my journey difficult?
Literally, did I say that last night?
Yeah, some hard questions right there. Habakkuk lived in Judah in the late 17th century BC, before the Israelites were taken to exile. The prophet found himself in a society that overlooked social injustice and was immobilized by the fear of imminent invasion by the Babylonians. He asked God to intervene and remove suffering. He replied that he would act justly, but in his timing. In faith, Habakkuk chose to trust God, even if the suffering didn't end. The prophet believed that he would continue to be his strength. We too can take comfort that God is our strength to help us endure suffering, and will also use the most challenging of life's journeys to deepen our fellowship with Jesus. What are you afraid of? And how can you trust God to be your strength? Dear God, sometimes my suffering seems too much to bear. Help me to trust you and continue to walk with you on this journey.
What are you afraid of? People in the family not being saved, losing their life. I don't know. There's so much ears that are so deaf that it's like they claim to listen, but they don't. And it's like I get afraid that they're going to walk into a lot of chaos and get extremely hurt. I get afraid of the children. I don't want to receive a phone call. You know, I remember my mom was always afraid when the phone rang because of my foolishness. I don't want any of that. Other than that, I don't know. How can you trust God to be your strength? I'm also afraid of being alone. I've said this before. I think the most scariest thing is living a long life and everybody that you were raised with or know of won't be here with you. And then you start thinking, well, who else is going to be there because there's hardly nobody else? Who does my kids fall back on when no one else is around? That's always been my fear. Mom, dad not here. Who does our children have? You know? How can I trust God to be my strength? I don't know. There's nothing that I can do. As humans, we try our best to control everything, but at this point, you can't control anything. You literally would have to just let go and let God and trust Him.
I think for that, like sometimes just looking at like the way that God does things, God created like a whole circle of life. You know, like
Circle.
when the elders passed and we become the elders, our children have us and they have their grandchildren, and the story continues. And then the memories pass down from generation to generation.
At least you would want that. Reality is so much crap is dead. That's my fear. There's not much of anybody around.
But the stories that we have, we pass down.
Yeah. I guess the only thing is, I don't want our children to ever grow up to just hear stories. We want them to actually see the action and live it and feel it, not a once or twice a year thing. You know what I mean? It's like the same questions we have now as adults. Like, how the heck did we get raised up in a very large unity, like community of family, and it's like, bam, it's dying out. Maybe not for some, but I know what we see. It's dying out. And I think it's really sad, and that's where my fear comes. Like, dang, who the heck does our children run to? I would hope their older siblings mature, but only time will tell. And as parents, we got to continue to intercede and fast and pray for our family and children and continue to train them up in the way they should go by being the example in action, because actions are a lot stronger. I want to keep that legacy alive. If no one else will, then my husband and I decided to keep that legacy alive on what our elders taught us, our grandparents. A legacy of love.